Hello and welcome to This Date in History, aka TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today and years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things we personally find intriguing enough for us to bring to you. The sources of this information comes from the smart device application Today in History on this day and the website onthisday.com. For links to the sources, music, and anything else potentially interesting, check the box below. Anyway, let's get on with the show, shall we? Today is Sun's Day, aka Sunday, January 22nd, 2022. Well, look at that, 2222.
2222222.
Do you want to start us off there?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so this looks like 69 AD. Woo-hoo! The Roman legions in Germania Superior refused to swear loyalty to Galba. They rebel and proclaim Vitellius as emperor. Emperante.
Emperante.
Yeah, well, I just made it up. Whatever, you know. But also 366 AD, the Alemanni crossed the frozen Rhine in large numbers, invading the Roman Empire. Haha, put that in your pipe and smoke it, Romans. Boop, 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 boop.
Well, what are the Alemanni? They were a confederation of Germanic tribes on the Upper Rhine River. During the later and weaker years of the Carolingian Empire.
It's just called Carolyn, just kind of like how we changed Czechs to Checquois.
Checquois. That's right, Czechs are now called Checquois.
Yep, Checquois. I know.
But yeah, no, like Rome had a lot of trouble with the Germanic things. Yeah.
Now Germany, right?
Yeah, now Germany. But later, like in 533, Mercurius became Pope John II. He was the first pope to adopt a new name upon elevation to the papacy. That wasn't always a normal thing. Now we see the pope and they always take on a new name and everything, but that's not always been the case. But then again, in 533, the papacy was still pretty young. I mean, Christianity didn't really form until, 200, 300?
Something like that. I don't remember exactly. Let's just say, it is what it is.
Yeah, but speaking of religions and everything, in 1235, Emperor Joseph II ordered Jews of Galicia, Austria, to adopt family names. So,
some Jews, I tell you.
Let's be easy. Yeah.
I love the Jews.
Yeah,
nothing against them. But they've kind of gotten a short stick a lot,
Yeah, that is true.
Actually, is that the 12th right there in 1492? Muhammad the 12th?
Muhammad the 12th, yes.
Yeah, he was the last emir of Granada, and he surrendered the city to Ferdinand II of Aragon and Isabel I of Castile. It ended both the Reconquista and centuries of Muslim rule in the Iberian Peninsula.
Where is the Iberian Peninsula?
Yeah, where is that?
Oh, it's in Spain.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Like there's I'm still learning about this now, but I didn't really know until recently that there is a lot of Muslim stuff going on back in the Middle Ages in Spain and whatnot.
Oh yeah, so, well, remember also the Spanish Inquisition happened. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in Spain.
Well, it's not just that.
Do a special on them sometime about just Spain's history.
It's not just that, but I may be wrong, but we everybody knows about the Crusades, everybody knows about the jihads, everybody knows about all that stuff happening in the Middle East and everything. But what a lot of people don't put together is that Africa doesn't only connect to Europe right there; it goes over the top. Along the bottom part of the Mediterranean, and then it pops up, and then it's practically touching Gibraltar at the southern end of Spain. Okay, so and a lot of Muslim stuff went up in that way, and they're having a lot of, their own little holy wars and pushing up there. So we were going down one way, and they're pushing back up another. We were making a circle,
Oh, well, the more you know. What is it? We're going to move up to almost 100 years, but not quite. But in 1570 AD, the Tsar Ivan the Terrible, he marched to the Novgorod, the Novgorod. Yeah, the Novgorod.
Novgorod, yeah. His march to
Novgorod.
Novgorod began. Interesting.
Yeah,
I need to
Ivan
learn
the
more
Terrible.
about Ivan the Terrible, but wasn't Ivan the Terrible the inspiration to Dracula?
Uh, no. Yeah, I can't remember who it is. The guy who liked to put stakes through people's buttholes and then they slowly fell out their mouths.
I think that was Ivan.
I think you might be right, but I could be wrong.
Well, then
Something
again,
tells me that
Tsar
was
is
that?
a Russian word, and I
Yep,
know
Czar.
that the inspiration for Dracula came out of like Transylvania or in that general vicinity,
Yeah,
but they could have
but
been part of the
well,
Soviet Union back then too. Who knows?
well,
Although
yeah.
Dracula's been around for 200 years, like when was all that started?
You know what? I could look it up real quickly. Who was
Dracula.
Dracula based off of? Are you looking it up?
Yeah, because my
Now
screen is 1897. Oh, okay, here we go. Got on a vampire, blah blah. Was Dracula a real person? Yes.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
not the actual Count Dracula, but it was based off of Vlad the Impaler.
Yes,
So,
that's what. See, that's what I was saying. Ivan the Terrible is different than Vlad the Impaler. See, that's why it was called the Impaler.
born
See, I was like, no.
born in Transylvania as the second son of the nobleman Vlad II Dracul, he took the name Dracula, meaning son of Dracul. So Dracula really did exist. He wasn't a vampire, but he was a real person. Wow.
Yeah, Dracul. Yeah. It was Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, Vlad and Dracul. That's right. Like, see, I told you it wasn't Ivan the Terrible. I was like, something tells me it's wrong. That's something. Like, remember, he likes to stake people through the butthole.
A lot of rulers did. But anyway, getting back on track here, 15 years later in 1585, Spain and Catholic France signed St. League of Joinville, Constitution of the United States. What?
Joinville. Yeah, I know. It's weird. I thought that was...
Like, explain this to me. That's hurting my brain
I
trying to
know,
figure out.
No, that
Spain
it's in
and
the
Catholic
Bible.
France
I thought you knew
signs.
something I didn't know, but I found it sounded interesting to like share. I was like, well, apparently part of France, was Catholic, and Spain, they signed a league of, the Justice League. Where the Justice League
The
came
Treaty
from.
of Joinville was signed in secret on December 31st, 1584 by the Catholic League led by France's first family of Catholic nobles, the House of Guise and Habsburg, Spain. So, this is interesting.
Yeah, well, I didn't look it further, like really further into it, but like when I was like Joinville, I just thought Joinville. I was like, what the hell's Joinville?
Oh, okay. It says consequences for England. By 1585, the treaty became known in England. It was believed, though falsely, the aim of the treaty was to form a Catholic alliance against Protestants through Europe.
Oh.
So it was like a religious, political thing. Maybe. Well, that's what they thought, but yeah.
It's interesting then that I just, when I saw it, I was like, well, this sounds cool, because I saw the Constitution of the United States, I saw the League of Joinville, and I was like, I was like, is this a Christian thing at first?
No.
But it's totally not.
But anyway, to move on up, in 1602, a Spanish force in Ireland surrendered to the English army at Kingsdale. Interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty nifty. 1757, British troops occupied Calcutta, India.
Was that the beginning of their colonization of India?
I probably. Because, they had, remember the West India, or the East India Trading Company was a British company that was, I think, importing and exporting through, to India and from, or something. I can't remember exactly. I'm probably...
It was way before then. The British Raj refused the period of British rule on the Indian subcontinent between 1858 and 1947. So they occupied Calcutta, over 100 years before they actually, fully owned. That's interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well then, that's nice.
But jumping on up to 1776, that should be a beautiful year, endearing in the hearts of millions. Austria ended the use of interrogation by torture. Well,
Torture!
that is very endearing in the hearts of billions.
You right? Like, I thought you would like that one. There's a few that I found that I was like, ooh, Xander might like this. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, Austria ends its torture.
Yeah, torture.
Torture.
Torture. And then 12 years later, in 1788, Georgia became the fourth state to ratify the United States Constitution.
Yep, that's another one I thought you were going to find pretty nifty.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, look at that. That's kind of a big deal. We're going to move up just a few years, not too much. The Big Bottom Massacre in Ohio Country, North America, marking the beginning of the Northwest Indian War.
You know, a better way to deliver that was in 1791, Big Bottom Massacre in the Ohio Country. You know?
Yeah,
I like big butts and I cannot lie.
In 1791, Big Bottom Massacre in the Ohio Country. I thought it said county at first, but I was like, that's like I
have the same problem. My brain wants to say county when I say country. And then
yeah, it's like Ohio's not a country; it's a state. But it was in the countryside.
It actually used to be a country.
I suppose you're right.
Well, I mean, like, the original 13 colonies. Wait, no, Ohio was not a country. I'm an idiot. They were not part of the original 13. So,
no, they were not.
No,
they're a little too west.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of like how Minnesota is just, they're not original 13 colony. Like Minnesota is like 1858 is when we became a state or something like that, or 1838, something with it.
I don't know, but speaking of the 1800s, in 1800, free African American community of Philadelphia petitions U.S. Congress to abolish the slave trade.
Oh, yes, that one too. It's like there's a few things like Pennsylvania just does a whole bunch of shit.
Well, like this reminds me, wasn't yesterday? Didn't we say yesterday? Like, wasn't it like 1804 or something where we stopped importing slaves? Like, it was shortly after that. So
1804. Yeah. So this is basically a precursor to what we were talking about yesterday.
And this is why I love history. You learn things and you learn more things that happened before the things you already learned, and then you expand your portfolio.
Right. I know. I thought you said 1800. I forgot that I put that right next to each other. I double pasted it right there about that information. So I was like, oh wait, 1811.
Yeah. Well, in 1811, U.S. Senator Thomas Pickering was the first senator censored.
He revealed confidential documents communicated by the President of the United States.
Oh wow, censorship!
Yeah, he was the first. He was the first senator to be censored.
That we know of. Yeah.
You know what? And we're going to move 3 years up to 1814. Lord Byron completes the Corsair. He was a poet.
The Corsair.
The Corsair. The Corsair, I should say.
Is a tale in verse by Lord Byron, published in 1814, blah, 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 extremely popular, yada, yada, yada. 10,000 copies on its first day of sale. Whoa.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Was a big deal. He's like a poet playwright kind of guy. Like he actually, I think he comes back up later. Like I saw him again, but I don't think I posted it. But like he also like a couple years later he completed another writing. I can look real quickly and see.
Well, why don't we just continue on up to 1818, where back then, on the 2nd of January in 1818, the British Institution of Civil Engineers was founded by a group of 6 engineers. Later, Thomas Telford would become its first president.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The engineers. Speaking of engineers, that's going to come up later, but about the first bridge that was a pulley thing. Or something. We'll talk about it in a little bit.
We'll get to that when we get to that, but let's skip up ahead to 1832.
Nope. This is mine. Because this is a huge thing in Minnesota for some reason. But in 1832, the first curling club in the United States opened, which is Orchard Lake Curling Club. And for some reason, Minnesota is huge about curling. I don't know why. And that's why I wanted to talk about it.
Well, I mean, it's essentially like a really lazy form of ice hockey, it looks like.
Yeah, have you ever seen the one where, instead of them using the big little thing that they push down that weight with the handle, they have, they do it with a cat?
No.
Oh my god, you gotta find it one day. I'll see if I can find it for you. The curling cat.
I found it.
It's so ridiculous. It's one of the funniest things. My brother showed it to me. He sent it to me one day on Facebook.
Do they actually like straight up push the cat, or
no? The cat was edited in.
Okay, because okay, that looks photoshopped too. But there's another one here of a cat sitting on whatever that is.
A room.
The bowler, the thing with the handle.
Yeah, the bowler.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
If you look in my stream, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Let me double check here. I gotta see. I must see the stream. So I'm not in the stream.
There's another one here. That's a fat cat.
It's like a cat sitting in a bowl. No, but this is like the video. There's the video of the black cat. He's just kind of laying sideways, but then they're they're scoonging in front of the cat.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, he's just sitting there like licking his paw and stuff the whole way down. Oh.
Well, anyway, 365 days after that, in 1833, British rule was reestablished in the Falklands. So,
ooh, the Falklands?
The Falklands.
I know. I had to say it. Didn't help.
Falklands.
The Falklands.
The Falklands.
Yep.
Why are we being so rude? Wow, that's really down there.
I know. Woo! That's, no wonder. Yeah, I spelled the Falklands.
The Falklands.
Oh, this one you're gonna find cool. Speaking of, 6 years later, the first photo of the moon by a French photographer was taken by Louis Dapier. We're just gonna call him Jacques. Louis Jacques.
That's a cool looking photo too. I have it up on the stream.
Yeah, I see that there. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, but that was apparently the first photo of the moon.
Nice.
Jumping ahead a couple more years, in 1842, the first U.S. wire suspension bridge. See, this is what I was talking about. For general traffic, opens in Pennsylvania. Yeah, it showed a guy who was like a structural engineer and stuff. That's what I was talking about earlier. But yeah, that was when the first wire suspension bridge for general traffic opened, was in 1842.
One of the first, or the first wire bridge in the U.S. Okay.
In the United States, yeah.
Yeah. Brought up a picture of it right here. That looks interesting.
Yeah, look at that.
Looks
look
like
at that schnazzy
miniature suspension bridge.
Yes, exactly. And look at our bridges now. They just get epic. But here, how about you do 1843 for me, buddy?
Yeah, well, speaking of 1843, Richard Wagner's opera, The Flying Dutchman, premiered in Dresden. The Flying Dutchman. I've never heard about that. I wonder if he wears a sock on his wispy tail.
Well, the only time, the first time I ever heard a reference to The Flying Dutchman was, unfortunately, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, no, I've heard about The Flying Dutchman since, I don't know when I was... I don't know when, but I knew about the tail. It was before the SpongeBob thing, before the
before Pirates,
the Pirates of the Caribbean thing. No, I straight up the tail of the Flying Dutchman. The ghost ship and everything. But let's start belting this stuff out here, because we're still in the 1800s. So let's go up to 1861. South Carolina seized inactive Fort Johnson in Charleston Harbor. That doesn't seem that significant because it was inactive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but same year, Colonel Charles Stone is put in charge of organizing the D.C. militia, Washington D.C. militia.
1861. That was during the Civil War.
Yep.
So, yeah. Oh well, that explains it. Yeah. Okay, so that is significant. The seizing of the fort. Now that I'm thinking about it, because they're bolstering.
They probably made a stronghold and stuff. I don't know. You can look it up real quick. By what happened? It's kind of a big deal. It's war stuff. I love war stuff.
Yeah. Well, speaking of war stuff, in 1863, the Battle of Murfreesboro, or Stones River, ends.
Yep, the Battle of Murfreesboro. Mm-hmm. We need to add in Strong Bad saying Murfreesboro.
Strong Bad from Homestar Runner?
Yeah. Because there's somebody who wrote out, it's like a Strong Bad email. Somebody spells it, and he just pronounces it the way he says it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I love the emails.
Find on my website. The scroll, the button.
I think you have something to tell me about 1865, though, right?
I do. I totally do, because this is kind of cool, because this is all boxing and shit. So 1865, welterweight Con Oram and heavyweight Hugh O'Neill brawl for 185 rounds before darkness ends. The legendary bare-knuckle boxing match happened in Virginia City, Montana. It's
185 rounds.
185 rounds. Yeah, that was epic, dude.
That's insane. Like,
Yeah, I'd like to see
hold on a
Conor
second.
McGregor trying to do that.
That's boxing, right?
Yeah, that's boxing.
1865.
Yeah, Conor M. and
Average
Hugh O'Neill.
boxing.
So, like, you had a welterweight
Average.
versus a heavyweight.
Average boxing round length.
Usually, like 20. Maybe.
Hmm.
I don't know, 12. Usually do 12 rounds.
Yeah. Well, I'm not much into all this boxing stuff. I mean,
So, and I think it's like, what, 3 or 4 rounds in the UFC? I can't remember how it goes.
I don't know. Well, I know Canada has Boxing Day, and I used to think that was about the sport, but apparently, no, it's about putting things in boxes.
No. For the less fortunate, it happens the day after Christmas. So does New Zealand and Australia. They also, I think South Africa, possibly.
Oh, that's
also
cool.
Boxing Day. Yeah, there's a lot of countries that actually celebrate it.
Yeah.
So it's a day after. Yeah, everyone thought it was a boxing thing, like fighting, but no, it's actually about like stuff that you don't need because you just got shit the day before. You know.
Well, moving on up to 1871, King Amadeus I of Spain was inaugurated at 25.
Amadeus.
Amadeus.
I couldn't help myself there.
Dun, dun, dun,
We're gonna move up. What is that? Is that 8 years?
Well, I was about to say that is 8 years, but I was about to say 25. That's pretty young. I mean, how old was Kim Jong Un? 28 when he got leader. And people were saying he's just a kid. But then again, there have been 3-year-old emperors and empresses and crap, but they actually didn't do anything. But
well, remember how young they find the frickin' Dalai Lama too. Like,
oh yeah,
he's not really, but I mean, he's literally, Well,
the Dalai Lama is just it's all based off of reincarnation. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, he picks a toy. If he picks a toy from the original one, then and you don't know which one it is, except for the people who watch. So, I'm gonna go outside real quickly to have a cigarette.
But you have something to say about 1879, right?
I do. British battleship Thunder explodes.
No, I thought you were going to talk about what happened in Australia.
Oh, in Australia. Hang on a second. How to speak Australian. Alright. 1879, the Australian fast bowler Fred Foster dismisses 3 English batsmen with consecutive deliveries during the 3rd test at the Melbourne Cricket Ground for Test cricket's first hat trick. And the reason why I wanted to say that one is because when I say hat trick, I think hockey.
Hat trick.
I could care less about cricket, to be honest, but it's actually a really interesting sport. But I don't mean to all those cricket fans out there. It's not my thing, but I do tip my hat off to you.
But also in 1879, British battleship Thunder exploded in Gulf of Isman. 9 unfortunately died. But hey,
yes,
what a fitting way to go out with that name. Am I right?
The Battleship of Thunder.
The Battleship's Thunder exploded.
Sorry. But we're going to move to 1882. Because of anti-monopoly laws, Standard Oil is organized as a trust.
I gotta figure out what being a trust means. I don't know all of these economic terms and business things.
Trust funds, those are
they're like what?
It's like a inheritance, but it gets rolled out. I think trusts get rolled out with as your age, or you have to meet a certain stipulation to get your trust. Some people once you can't get your trust until you're 25. Some people have to be married and have 3 kids before they can get a trust. It depends on, I think, whatever. I don't know exactly. Why don't you just look up what a trust fund is?
I will later. But hey, Alice.
Yeah. Speaking of Alice.
Yeah. Well, who is Alice? Tell me about 1890.
Alice Sanger becomes first female White House staffer. That's kind of a big deal. There's actually a few things that happened today in history with women. And I was going to put all of them in, but some of them were kind of about tennis or stuff I don't really care about. So,
Yeah, well, like that's the thing. When you're going through history and everything, you really got to
I
sort
know.
out through like what is actually significant. It's like, oh, this person was the first left-handed female with a birthmark on her right knee in
Yeah,
like the
that's
corner
exactly
office
what.
of the building on Third and Broadway. Like,
Yeah, but
why
look,
do
no,
we have to make
actually,
everything important? I mean, I get it,
it
everything is
happened
important, but
for
like,
the first time is
why are we
important.
grasping at straws for any portion of like, look at me, like.
Yeah, or women rights. Like, I mean, I'm all for women and women rights because be treated equally, but I think men really get a shitty fucking end of the stick at the end of the day instead of women. Oh, hi, kitty cat.
Eh,
Anyway,
that's
but she
debatable.
became the first female White House staffer. Alice Sanger
That's really
in
nice.
18. That's actually a big feat for women. Like that was the
N-
first time a woman worked inside, aside from maybe a cook. But
Now, speaking of women, just 3 years later, the first U.S. Commemoratives and first U.S. stamp to picture a woman issued occurred. It was Queen Isabella, patron of Columbus. So the first U.S. stamp to feature a female. So that's pretty
yeah,
cool.
just only 3 years later. Yeah, I mean, there's a few little cute little snippets. Like I thought that was kind of cool, but like I know it's not like super important, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Oh, that looks cool. I'm looking
It
at the
is.
Queen Isabella stamp right now.
Oh, dude, that looks really cool. Holy crap!
1893. Let me just refine the search here. Yep, it was this one. That's cool. Dude, like, have you noticed, like, I've been noticing that old stamps used to be bigger and everything. Now it's a lot more simpler and whatnot, and I get it,
Yeah, it's gotten cheaper.
like,
It's gotten cheaper in like quality, but higher in price to purchase.
yeah. Whoa, that's a
Yeah.
$4 stamp. Holy crap.
Oh my god. What?
Whoa.
Okay, I take that back.
Whoa. That was 1892, $4. That's what, like $100 a day or something crazy? Like,
No, I can't.
wow.
Like, you should just like later on. We should look up the currency rate from 1893 to today. What that is.
Hold on a second.
Right. I know what
1893
currency to today.
currency value. $1 is $30. So three,
So
six, nine,
30.
12,
Is that $120?
$120, like $125 right there. So
Jesus
that's
Christ.
$125.
Jesus. No, I know it. Now
Wow.
I understand why stamp collectors are stamp collectors.
Stamp collectors, that's a weird, thing, but it's also interesting, because like that's also
People just
that's history. That's another form of history. Like, people like I personally do think it's a little odd, but I also think it's intriguing at the same time. I wouldn't do it, but
it's not for
I want to
everybody.
talk to people who do. But anyway, let's move on up to the next century. In 1900, the Chicago Canal opened.
Yeah, 1900.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say the 15 miles on the Erie Canal, but it's not the Erie Canal, it's the
Yeah.
Chicago Canal.
Yeah.
And
But also in 1900, U.S. statesman and diplomat John Hay announced the open door policy to promote trade with China.
yeah,
Mm,
so yeah, before Nixon, there was this guy.
yeah. Before Dixon, it was this guy. Oh my God.
3 years later, in 1903, though, U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt shuts down post office in Indianola, Indianola,
Indianola?
Mississippi. Is that yeah?
Indianola.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Indianola, Mississippi, for refusing to accept its appointed postmistress because she was black.
Ah. See, look at
Yeah,
that. You know, put
that's kind
that
of a big
put that in
deal.
your pipe and smoke it, BLM. We've been fighting for you guys since before you ever even started. So,
Exactly, man. Like we've all had your back. At least in my entire life, I've always had you.
yeah.
I
But
like to think that
a
you
couple
anyway.
years after that, in 1905, Japanese troops captured Port Arthur from Russia, a blow to national morale and causing further discontent within Russia. So,
Hmm.
Japan and Russia have been at it, at each other's throats for a long time. I
Over
mean,
100 years.
yeah. Well, at least up
But,
until after World War II. Well,
oh,
yeah.
dear, but I bet your boot Japan like only wants like Russia as an ally. I would.
But also, like in 1905, American anarcho-syndicalist union known as the Industrial Workers of the World forms. Anarcho. That does not sound good. That sounds like
Anarcho
anarchy.
socialist thing. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I thought you'd be like, ooh.
Syndicalism is a political philosophy and anarchist school of thought that views revolutionary industrial unionism or syndicalism as a method for workers in capitalist society to gain control of an economy and thus control influence in border security. Oh, and broader security.
Oh.
Man, politics are just in everything, man. It's ridiculous.
It always happens. It is. It's ridiculous. Oh,
here's something. I'm going to claim this. Okay, me being, I've lived out in the desert for all 34 years of my life. In 1906, Willis Carrier received a U.S. patent for the world's first air conditioner.
Right? I know. I thought you might find that one.
Oh man, yes.
I was like, Mr. Desert Man over there.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to move up 2 years to 1908. The Canadian branch of the Royal Mint opens in Ottawa. Ooh, the mints. I've taken a tour of the mint in Denver, Colorado, and it's just a coin mint. It was like one of the most boring tours I ever took, but it was also at the same time intriguing. It was boring.
Well, here's something interesting. Like in 1908, Canadians or Canada, they were not their own. They were a country, but they were not independent. So the Royal Mint is from the UK. So the first UK, foreign, well, not really foreign, but what's the word? Protectorate?
Ottawa. Yeah, something like that.
Whatever the word is. But hey, something can happen in 1913 you'd be interested in.
Yeah, the National Women's Party forms.
National Women's Party. Yeah. Now, is that a political party?
I don't know. I think so.
We have the technology.
I think it was kind of like it was like right before the women had the right to vote.
The National Women's Party was an American women's political organization formed in 1916 to fight for women's suffrage. But that's right. They weren't able to vote back then yet either, right?
No, exactly. But no, in 1913 it formed, but then it became an official party, I guess.
Oh yeah.
2 years later.
Yeah.
But that's when it first formed. Was in 1913 today. That's when the women were like, that's it, yeah. Like, you know what's really funny, though? It's not all women who wanted the right to vote. Actually, about half of the country was divided on it when it came down to the women. Like, a lot of women just like, I don't want that. Like, they didn't care for it.
And see, here's the thing, like, when you're talking about rights to vote, when you're talking about, like, all these things, like, the right to this, the right to that, all that stuff, pardon me. You gotta look at it from. You gotta look at it from all sides. You gotta look at it from all sides of the spectrum. Okay, like giving women the right to vote. Yes, they're humans too. They have every right in the world as men and all that stuff. As as white, black, Asian, Mexican, whatever. We're all equal. Okay, but what you gotta understand is also back then, and especially like up until like 20, 30 years ago. For the most part, women were stayed at home. Men went out and did the work and everything. Like you could say society, culture, all that stuff. That's not the argument I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make about perspectives.
Remember yesterday we were talking about women started working into like the.
Well, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is about perspective. Okay, so you give I don't want to say you give the right. No, they already have the rights, but you encourage people who are in their own little bubble to go out and vote. That's not going to help anything because they don't have the perspective. They don't have, they're not out there. They don't know what's going on, so they don't know what they're voting for or, adding in, repealing what they're doing. People have got to be informed before they go to the polling booth and just start, poking in things. Because, like...
Also, like, and the thing is, people, like, just think it's important to pay attention who's being elected into, like, the United States, like, Senate and House of Representatives and President, when they should pay more attention as to their local level, like, to who they're voting in as a mayor.
Yeah.
I mean, and people on the city council, like, those are just as equally important because those people trickle up the laws that, like, become state laws and... they eventually go into office eventually. Like they have to,
let's talk about all this in the Jabberwocky later today.
Yeah.
I would, if you don't mind, like putting in a note or something, like right now while I'm talking, in the Jabberwocky channel. Because also in 1913, Mahatma Gandhi left the Tulsi farm in Transvaal, South Africa. He was in
Yeah.
Africa? Huh.
Yeah, being
But moving on up
insane.
5 years after that, in 1918, Montreal Arena in Westmount, Quebec. You know what? I think you should report on this, right?
Hang on a second.
You're the
Let me just.
sports girl.
Oh, well, kind of. I mean, I like sports to a degree. I'm more of a hockey person, so.
Uh, all right.
But
Well,
let
I'll
me
go
let me
ahead.
scroll down here. What year are we in right now again?
1918.
1918. All right, hang on. 1918. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is hockey. So yeah, this is definitely something I want to inform people on. Montreal Arena in Westmount, Quebec. The home rink of four-time Stanley Cup winners, the Montreal Wanderers, burns down, leading to the club disbanding.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So yeah, it was the end of a hockey team, basically. Like the Wanderers burns down, leading to the club disbanding. Yeah, like the arena.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sad. But it's hockey history.
Yeah.
How about that?
Well, jumping on up to 1920, we have two things here, and actually they kind of go hand in hand. So, like, the first one is responding to global fear of communism caused by the Russian Revolution. U.S. Attorney General Palmer authorized raids across the country on unionists and socialists. And then
Yeah,
also in
that's
1920, the second, I think this is the same exact thing, the second Palmer raid ordered by the U.S. Department of Justice resulted in 6,000 suspected communists and anarchists being arrested and held without trial. Now, here's the thing, like, a lot of people would see that and be like, like, if that happened today, a lot of people would cheer. No, no, no. Okay, we gotta have trials. We can't just arrest people we don't like. We
no,
gotta have
exactly.
we gotta have
But
reason. Like
it shows execution.
what's
You
habeas
can't be held without
corpus?
trial. Yeah, exactly. Like you
Like
can't be held without trial. We should talk about this in the Grab the Lucky too.
we
Like we
should
should go into some of these things
we
because
should. And if
that's
Hawk is
becoming a
listening,
big deal
if Hawk or Zukov are listening right now, you're free to put in those as notes. You know,
in the
in
Lucky.
in the
Yeah, like
Jabberwocky, and
I would like to
yeah.
discuss
Anyway,
this.
let's move on up because we're starting to run out of time here. In 1921, the first religious service radio broadcast in U.S.
KDKA Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania added it again. But yeah, it was the first. I thought that was interesting, like the first religious radio thing. Because yesterday, remember we talked about the Lutheran Church, evangelical, like things
Yeah.
formed. So like I thought that was kind of interesting. Also, and we're going to move up to 1935. We have a Bruno Hauptmann. His trial begins for kidnapped murder of Charles Lindbergh's baby.
I remember the Lindbergh stuff.
Yeah, the
That was
Lindbergh
a
baby.
whole thing. Like that was
Oh,
the
dude.
news of the century.
Well, also, I think they mentioned it in the movie Hoover that Leonardo DiCaprio starred in, like where he was put in charge of like hunting down like who took the Lindbergh baby. And we ended up finding him like the baby like a mile or two away
Oh
in the
yeah,
ditch or something like that.
it was dead, right?
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah,
was dead.
that's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah, the baby was dead. Yeah, the baby had been cast. But we're gonna move to 1941. We have two in 41. In World War II, the Cardiff Blitz severely damaged the cathedral in Cardiff, Wales.
And
Also
see,
in 41, yeah,
before you continue, like a lot, like here's the thing about war. Like people don't realize all the destruction. Like
multiple.
everybody knows that there's that planes drop bombs and that tanks fire at each other and then like
Cities
all the
burn.
explosions of wars. But like what you don't realize is like how lucky we are. Like for like something like the Notre Dame to still be
Yeah,
standing.
that's right. Well, no,
Notre
there's
Dame, like
had a fire a few years back.
well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that Notre Dame, like, and there's a lot of other cathedrals around Europe who share, similar stories and such, but unfortunately, a lot of other cathedrals that don't. But
Yeah,
like, think about it. Like
think about
all
the
the
cathedral
conflict
that
all across Europe, not just during the Second World War, but during the First one, during the Napoleonic ones, and everything. All the countless historical things that are gone and lost forever that we don't even realize. Just
yeah.
buried under the rubble and swept away during the rebuilding process.
Well, also think about this. When the World Trade Centers went down in 2001, there was a cathedral right next to the World Trade Center, and it's still standing to this day.
Are you talking about that one that's like up on top of a building or something? Like it's not at ground level, or is
I
there?
can't remember, but no,
There's
I
like
think it is
five cathedrals
possible.
in New York, like
Yeah,
Manhattan.
well,
So,
this one is like right next to the World Trade Centers, but it
hmm,
received very minimal damage. Like, and it was right by like Tower 1 and 2 or Building 7. I can't remember which tower it was by,
well,
but
that's really lucky.
yeah, it was very lucky. Think about that. But we're gonna go to world. We still have another 41 for the World
Yep.
War II. You know, the Cardiff Blitz severely damaged the cathedral in Wales. And then in World War II, also that year, the U.S. government announces its Liberty ship program to build freighters in support of the war effort.
Yeah, that's when we started. Like this is what led to Japan knowing about us being the sleeping dragon. Because we started pumping out ships. Well, we weren't in the war. We were just helping. We were like, hey, here, have some pocket change, okay? And then after we got hit, we're like, hey, Japan, death.
Yeah, it's what you do when you. It's what happens when you find a stranger in the midst, right?
I really don't got to
Moving
do that.
moving on up at another year, it's 1942. Speaking of World War II, because we're in the World War II era right now. Um, in World War II in 1942, the 28 nations at war with the Axis power pledged to make no separate peace deals.
That's
Also, in 40,
that's
yeah,
incredible.
that's
Like,
incredible. Yeah,
yeah.
no separate peace deals. Hi, Arthur. My bunny rabbit jumped up here.
What?
42 also, German troops in Bardia surrender.
Where is Bardia?
I have no idea. But also, we have the Japanese troops occupied Manila in the Philippines
Hold on a
the
second.
same day too.
I'm looking up
So
Bardia.
yeah, but yeah, we have two things in. Well, we have three things. We have four things in 1942 because
Where is
Manila
Bardia?
comes up again too.
Bardia is in northern Africa. So that was
Yep,
during the Africa campaign.
yep, yeah. And so in 42 on January 2nd, German troops surrendered in Bardia.
Hmm.
Same day, Japanese troops occupied Manila, Philippines. Also today, in 1942, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, aka the FBI, they obtained the conviction of 33 members of a German spy ring headed by Fritz Zuber da DeQuincy in the largest espionage case in United States history, the DeQuance spy ring. DeQuance spy ring, I'm sorry.
Now, I didn't notice this, but
DQUENC.
also in 1942, like you already reported on this about Manila, but like Manila was captured by Japanese forces, enabling them to control the Philippines. So
Yep,
it
that was
wasn't
the other
just
part that goes with Manila.
yeah. But moving on up
Which
another year in
is,
1943, the University of Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball team um, began a 129 home game winning streak that only ended in 1955. And and
yeah,
and what else? What else is important
NCAA.
about that?
It's just a huge thing. It was a 129 home game winning streak. I mean, for any kind of sport to have that many games, like there was a football team in Minnesota that was like a high school football team that went like almost undefeated for years and years, and actually made a movie about it. But like that's all a huge feat because like what they also incorporate into that winning streak. They got NCAA titles in 48, 49, and 51 too. And this is like from 1943 to 1955. It's a game winning streak. That's big
Now,
in
something
my
else that's interesting. In 1944, like just 1 year after that, the first use of helicopters during warfare by the British Atlantic Patrol,
yeah the
and
BAP
I
the
checked it
back.
up on on Google here. And yeah, these are like some really like antique looking helicopters, but it's interesting to think of like such frail things being used in warfare. That has guns and howitzers and
As early as World War II, but they became huge during the Vietnam War, and I'm pretty sure they grew pretty big in hand like for the Korean War that happened in the 50s. So
oh wow, that was during World War II, wasn't it? So we had helicopters because I remember I played some kind of like Japanese themed like Call of Duty or whatever game. Like it was its campaign was focused in the Japanese theater, and at the end there was like a helicopter, and I'm just like, what? They had helicopters in World War II, but like then again, think about the STG-44, the first assault rifle before the AK-47. Germany invented the assault rifle. You know, Germany invented a lot of things.
Well, they also
Like,
have big cars.
yeah. Oh, that's another thing.
And good.
Volkswagen. You know, the whole idea about like how like giving the common people cars. That whole idea.
Yeah.
You know, like what makes this country, the United States of America, so great. You know how everybody has cars and all that stuff to be able to get to their jobs and do what they want to do. That idea started in Germany from Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The man was a fucked up dude and he had really bad ideas, but my God, he was a very influential leader. Like,
Yeah, well, he also started the Autobahn. Like,
yeah,
actually, I think the Autobahn was already there, but he like built upon it and everything.
He built upon, or something like that. Him or somebody after him, I can't remember who.
But anyway, also during World War II in 1945, the Allied air raid on Nuremberg occurred.
Yeah,
so,
and
like,
by all means,
a lot more bombings and everything.
We're not trying to praise Hitler here or anything.
No, not by any
just so
stretch.
people know.
No,
not by any stretch. The man was a terrible guy.
He
but,
was.
Like, he did put things forward that like were pretty useful and handy.
He was a terrible person, but guess what? He was also a vegetarian. He never cheated on his wife, and he never drank alcohol. And he was a decent artist. You know, so never judge a book by its cover. Some people who seem to be awful, you know, some people who seem to be good, you know, like, you never know.
Yeah, well, have you read his book?
Mein Kampf, no.
I found a really funny photo of a girl in, like, awkward family photos holding the book smiling like a Jew. I was like, what the hell?
Well, speaking of books and everything, in a completely off topic, in 1947, Mahatma Gandhi began his March for Peace in East Bengal.
Yes, he did. A year later, because it's 1948, we all know how I love 1948 because of goddamn parents. Sorry, God. WNDT, now WNET, the TV channel 13 in Newark, New York, at also now fondly known as today's PBS, begins.
Oh, the Public Broadcasting System.
Yep. Basically, eventually became PBS. But,
1 year after that, in 1949, Luis Munoz Marin was inaugurated as the first democratically elected governor of Puerto Rico.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Speaking of that same year, 1949, we have KDKA, TV Channel 2 in Pittsburgh, also fondly known as CBS. It began its first broadcast in 1949 in Pittsburgh. So CBS made its home roots in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
2 years later, in 1951, Philip Berry's Second Threshold premiered in New York City. What is the Second Threshold? Is that a play? You know, is that a movie?
I think so. I think it's like a play or a Broadway thing.
Second Threshold.
I accidentally this is where I accidentally
it's a play.
this is where I accidentally copied and pasted a little. I went too much, and so I didn't read all of them that were in here.
You really got to read them all.
Yeah,
we'll go over a lot more stringently this evening. But anyway, we're moving on up to 1952. Paul Joey opened at Broadcast Theater in New York City for 542 performances.
That's a lot of performances, though. Yeah, that one I did pay attention to. I actually my aunt liked that play.
Huh.
So that's only So I was like, oh yeah. So
I gotta go see more plays. I used to enjoy seeing plays. A lot of really cool plays. Like we also have in 1953, a year later, we have the NBA Baltimore Bullets begin a record streak of 32 games, a 32 game road losing streak. Like that's 12 games in 1952 through 53, 20 games in 1953 through 54. And with a 73-66 defeat at the Indianapolis of the Olympians. Oof. I just thought, sometimes you gotta show some losers. That's rough. 32 games.
Do you remember that one year? Was it the Detroit Lions that went off entire season losing the football team? Was it them or no? Or was it the Browns? I can't remember. It was some team
Well,
that
it
like
looks like
football
there's another play that came up in a year later.
became mutiny. Yeah, and Herman Wilkes came mutiny committed in New York City. Like I thought, just
But
some people who might like be appreciative to like plays and stuff like that might find that kind of cool.
yeah, but also in '54, India established its highest civilian awards, the Bharat Ratna and the Padma Vibhushan.
The Vibhushan.
I Vibhushan, Vibhushan,
Vibhushan, yeah,
Vibhushan,
Vibhushan.
Vibhushan.
Like like a Bhushan, like puppy dog, Bashan.
I have no idea. But the next year, in 1955, the first Bob Cummings show premiered on NBC, which later, I guess, moved to CBS. Because NBC and CBS still exist today, right? Or are they two the same thing? I don't know anymore.
No, they two are two separate things. CBS
Okay.
and NBC are two.
Okay, so it got transferred.
Like I remember the show. I remember like seeing like reruns of it. So, but also I picked it because of his last name.
And then I see a duplicate here. You brought in 1955. Panamanian President Jose Antonio Ramon was assassinated. However, after his assassination, his deputy Jose Ramon Goizado took power, but he was quickly deposed after his involvement in Cantera's death was discovered. So,
yeah,
yeah.
That's some conspiracy shit right there. 1956 though, we have the Pugists, communists win French parliamentary elections.
Parliamentary.
How did it?
I was reading that as paramilitary. I'm like, what?
Well, it's French, so I'm going to say the Jacquois.
Jacquois.
Yeah, the Jacquois communists.
Don't forget to collect your pay, Jacquois.
I gotta go get my pay to Jacquois.
But yo, like
you're gonna like this one. I thought this one you're gonna like.
But yeah, too. Like 3 years later, in 1959, Luna 1, the first spacecraft to reach the vicinity of the moon and to orbit the sun, was launched by the Soviet Union. You know, here's the thing, like, you know, everybody talks about the space race and stuff, and Soviet Union, first satellite in space, you know, Luna 1, the first animal in space, first human in space, first woman in space. They landed on Venus first. They landed a rover on the moon first. They've done like literally over like a dozen, maybe 2 dozen things. But then suddenly, because we landed on the moon, suddenly we win. Okay, you know,
right.
And even that's up for debate. You know.
That's up for debate too. Yeah. Well, actually, here we're going to move to 1960. I thought this was cool. Senator John F. Kennedy announced his candidacy for U.S. presidency.
Ooh.
Yeah, he did.
Nice.
And then 3 years later,
1 year after that, Hawaii, then the all-time low temperature, 14 degrees Fahrenheit, recorded atop Malakalikimaka.
Halakali, or something like that. Yeah, no, I thought that was...
So at the time, so that record is, it seems now by the wording that it's broken, but 14 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's pretty cold for Hawaii.
That is cold, but when you think about it, you know, recorded atop whatever that mountain is, I believe that's a mountain.
That's t-shirt weather.
Let me see here. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what's the height of that? So, I mean...
I like height. Let me
what's its elevation?
10,000 feet.
Okay,
so
10,000 feet. Yeah,
that that doesn't seem like too alarming. You know, 14 degrees should be like, you know, fairly.
For that height and that kind of like climate, I guess it's kind of a big deal. That's why I thought it was kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, like, you know, like there's we passed an area, like I've been up to the top of this other mountain before, but like you know, on the road from California to Arizona. There's this one area where, like, you know, you're at the bottom, you're at the base, and it's all desert, it's hot, but you can take a gondola up to the top of the mountain, and there's snow. So just go up, go up a couple thousand feet. You'll go from
Oh, no,
110 to
I've been to the
20
Rockies.
degrees. So,
I've been to the Rockies. We live in the Appalachians right now. So
yeah. But anyway, moving on up 2 years, in 1963, during the Vietnam conflict, the Viet Cong won its first major victory at the Battle of Ap Bac. So that's when we started, losing, like their first major victory. But then later on, in 1964, an assassination attempt on President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana failed.
Ghana.
Failed. But then the next year, Martin Luther King Jr. began a drive to register black voters.
Heck
yeah. More suffrage,
Yeah.
But once again, as I said earlier, everybody has the right, but everybody needs to be responsible with that right. Like, even more so than, with driving. Driving is a privilege, not a right. But, you still, just because something's given to you by God, it doesn't mean you can go Willy Wonka about it. You gotta be respectful of the gifts you're given. You gotta play nice. So, But also in 1965, a verse design of all Canadian coins was changed to depict present day.
Yep.
That's interesting. So they changed their currency.
The design of the currency changed to the...
Oh, wow. This next one.
Yeah, I know. I thought this was interesting. In 1966, the first Jewish child was born in Spain since the 1492 expulsion. Apparently, the Spanish expelled all Jews from their country, and so this is the first Jewish child born since 1492.
That is approximately 450 years.
Exactly, I know. I thought I was like, holy buckets. Speaking of which, holy buckets, because I'm a Reagan baby. I gotta do this one. 1967, Ronald Reagan, past movie actor and future president of the United States, was sworn in as governor of California.
Hey!
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Oh, he had a good sense of humor.
Smash.
You
know what? Hold on. I have got to bring this up.
Alzheimer's or whatever, or dementia. Like, that man was sharp when it came to, like, picking
Mr. Gorbachev,
Mr. Gorbachev.
Tear down this wall. Tear it down. Reagan smash. Reagan smash.
What's that?
Oh, it's just Reagan. Just leave him alone. He'll tire himself out.
Reagan sleepy.
Reagan sleepy.
Dude, that man had a sense of humor, though.
Reagan was awesome.
Dude, Reagan had a really, like, I don't believe with everything he did, but, like, he had a way with talking to the press.
Yeah.
And it was
well, like, Obama really knows how to talk too. He does this and stuff and acknowledges everybody, and he talks and blah 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 and blah blah blah.
I was like, I never knew who Obama was. I was like, what? He's a senator of Illinois. Who the fuck is this guy? And the next thing you know, he's a president. I was like, I don't know.
But like, not to bring back old subjects of hated people, but you know who else really knew how to talk to the people? Adolf Hitler.
Hitler was, he was a very good speaker.
But yeah, now this next one is confusing me. In 1968, Christiane Bernard performed second heart transplant on Philip Bleyeberg.
So apparently the first heart transplant was a failure.
So that, like, is that the second heart transplant in the U.S., in some other country, in all of time, or for this person? Has this person physically had two heart transplants himself? Like, is this like, the predecessor to like Rupert Murdoch or something? Like,
I liked how it just left it like, well, who the fuck is this guy? And who the fuck is that guy? And why did the first heart transplant not succeed?
Well, that is a question. Maybe they didn't succeed. So maybe this is the first documented case of a second heart transplant required for life sustainability.
I know, right?
But anyway, moving on up to 1969, once influential daily sports newspaper Soviet Sport declares Czech superstar distance runner Emil Zatopek a public enemy after he supported Democratic wing of the Communist Party and started the Prague Spring.
The Prague Spring.
Prague.
Yeah, Prague.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But also in 1969, Luis Ferre became the first state-holder governor of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna like this one. You should do 72 here.
Ooh. Yeah, in 1972, Mariner 9 began mapping Mars.
Yeah, I thought you liked that. Here we go. I got this one because it says women. Oh, here I did put a tennis thing in here because I was a dick. 1972 Australian Open Women's Tennis. Virginia Wade of England wins her first Grand Slam title, beats home favorite Yvonne Goolagong. 6-4, 6-4. The other reason why I like
Yvonne Goolagong. Dude, somebody should make a song.
I know.
You remind me of Elon Goolagong. Like something
Yvonne
like that.
Goolagong. Yeah, I was like, okay, I gotta put. I don't like tennis. I think tennis is kind of a stupid sport, but that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean it is. It's just
Oh,
me.
wow. 2 years after that, though,
Yep, here we go.
Argentina saw...
I can't draw 55. 74. 55 mile speed limit. 55 mile an hour speed limit.
Wait,
Imposed by Richard
what are you talking about?
So I can't drive 55.
No, I was talking about in Argentina. The worst fire that they've ever seen destroyed 1.2 million acres.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
That's a big fire.
That's a huge fire. That's Argentina, and that's got a lot of...
It's not like 1.2 million acres was all engulfed at the same time, but that's still like a lot of land to lose. So.
Yeah, over the course of the fire, it destroyed 1.2 million.
But also, in 1974, you were talking about 55?
Yeah, I can't drive 55. Yeah, the 55 mile an hour speed limit was imposed by Richard Nixon.
Yeah, like, I have it here, yeah, he signed a bill lowering the maximum U.S. speed limit to 55 in order to conserve gasoline during an OPEC embargo. And I don't know what OPEC is, so I'm going to look it up right now.
I've heard of OPEC
Organization
before.
of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. So there's some kind of embargo.
Well, well, right now, like, Biden's having issues with OPEC.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's still going on to this day, yeah. But you know, Biden can't do anything right. There, I said it.
Now, speaking of governments, 1 year later, in 1975, the federal rules of evidence were approved by the United States Congress. And I don't know what that is either.
Basically,
codify the evidence law that applies in the United States. Why does everything always have to be in lawyer talk? Why can't it just tell me what it is, you know?
Why can't it just be layman's terms?
What?
Why can't it just be layman's terms?
Yeah, I know. Purpose. In general, the purpose of rules of evidence is to regulate the evidence that the jury may use to reach a verdict.
Yeah, it's basically like where things can be put in as evidence or not.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because you don't want people to just start throwing shit in, you know?
That's not like real evidence or not, or just
start intentionally causing confusion, you know, to sway an opinion. So that is good.
That was 1975. 76 though, the gale of January 1976 began, resulting in coastal flooding around the southern North Sea coast, affecting countries from Ireland to Yugoslavia, and also causing at least 82 deaths and $1.3 billion US in damage.
Yeah.
That was smart. We also, this one's cool. This is a sports one here, and fucking Ted Turner. 1977. Major League Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn suspends Atlanta Braves owner Ted Turner for 1 year due to tampering charges in Gary Matthews' free agency signing.
Huh.
Fucking Ted Turner. He also wants to
lower
half. Well, you know, he did go toe to toe with Vince McMahon with the WCW and wrestling. So I mean, I give him that, but he also wants to cut half the population down too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of awful, terrible, horrible people, in 1978, on the orders of the President of Pakistan, Mohammad Zia-ul-Haq, paramilitary forces opened fire on peaceful protesting workers in Multan, Pakistan. It is known as the 1978 massacre at Multan Colony Textile Mills.
Yeah.
So, like...
This one, also a year later, we got the trial of Sid Vicious' murder of Nancy Spungen began, too.
What a fitting name.
Yeah.
Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious. Well, he was the bass player or guitarist to Sex Pistols.
But yeah, I mean, like, but you got to be vicious to murder people, right?
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
like speaking of murder, that's why I figured, like, with the president of Pakistan and Sid Vicious, like, he stabbed his girlfriend. He
Jesus.
stabbed Sid. I think he stabbed Nancy.
Yeah.
Also, Gary Oldman, I think he portrayed Sid Vicious in that movie Sid and Nancy too. There's some pop culture for you.
Well, moving on up to 1980, British steelworkers went on a national strike.
Yes, they did. Good on them.
1 year later, one of the largest investigations by a British police force ended when serial killer Peter Sutcliffe, the Yorkshire Ripper, was arrested in Sheffield, South Yorkshire.
Yep. 3 years later, in 1984, my birth year, boom, 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 the riot in Tunis kills over 100 people. Where is Tunis?
Tunis. I believe that's in Africa.
Yeah,
let me
like
go check. Tunis.
Yeah, probably got a third chance of being
Tunis
right.
map. But I'm thinking of Tunisia.
Yeah, Tunisia or whatever it's called. Tunisia.
Well, there is Tunisia.
Yeah.
But is there a Tunis? There is a Tunis. Tunis is the capital of Tunisia.
Ah, well, there we go.
It is in northern Africa. It's It's up on the top between Algeria and Libya.
Yeah, it's just a stone's throw from Morocco.
Also
in
more than a
84.
stone's throw, but yeah.
Yeah, a little more. But also in 84, Wilson Good was sworn in as Philadelphia's first black mayor.
Nice.
Also, yeah, right? Also in 1984 today, happened Major General Muhammadu Buhari is declared head of state in Nigeria following a military coup.
Huh.
All right. The more you know.
All these coups d'etats all the time happening and everything.
These bastards, I tell you.
But yeah, I see another sports thing happening over here.
Oh yeah, the Islanders' right wing Mike Bossy scores his 499th and 500th career goal in the final 2 minutes and 22 seconds to lift the New York to a 7-5 victory over the Boston Bruins. He's the 11th player in NHL history to score 500 goals.
That's a lot of goals.
Yeah. I actually know. I'm familiar with Mike Bossy. Like, that's pretty. He's a good player.
I see here in 1987, troops of Acadian President Hissène Habré conquered the Fada Oasis.
I want to go to
the Fada Oasis map.
Fada Oasis.
It's in Chad.
Huh, yeah.
Huh, that's cool.
Oh no, yeah, actually, when I posted that one, it showed, it said Chad on there, so I could have told you that. I forgot about it though.
But then 1 year later, in 1988, Mulroney and Reagan signed Canada-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. That's your Reagan boy.
Yep. Also that same year in '88, yeah, my Reagan. Also that same in '88 today, right-wing guerrillas ambushed a train near Mozambique's western border, killing at least 22 people and injuring 71.
Oh man. In 1990, the Dow Jones hit its record of 2,800, which is at technically 2810.15. Is that record high? I don't know what the numbers are in Dow Jones.
If my boyfriend was awake, I'd ask him what that means. He might actually know. But 1990 also today, for all those wrestling people out there, Sting joins the pro wrestling's legendary Four Horsemen, which had included Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Ole Anderson.
Ole Anderson.
I know it's Ole on there, but it's like Ole Anderson. I can't how to say it. Fucking man. Sometimes I say it wrong all the time. I'm a Minnesotan.
Minnesotan, don't you know?
Minnesota, don't you know?
Well, everyone knows that Manhattan is the Big Apple, but does anybody know where the Minneapolis? But anyway, moving on up to 1991, Sharon Pratt Dixon became the first black female mayor of a major city and the first female mayor of the District of Columbia, which is Washington, D.C., our capital.
Yeah, look at that. See,
like that's a little too recent for my enjoyment, but at least it happened. So
in 1991, Yeah, 91 was a good year. Why not?
Yeah.
94, 3 years later, 1994, battles between army and rebellious Indians in South Mexico killed 57 people.
Yeah. Well, I want to elaborate, like, what I meant by, like, 91 being recent, as in,
Oh,
like, I would have expected the first black female mayor, thing to have happened, like, maybe 10 or so years before that. Like, 91,
oh,
that's only 30 years ago, Like, within my lifetime, there's still, this civil justice thing happening, stuff that actually matters, Maybe I'm just going crazy.
I just scared my bunny rabbit with my scratchy thing. 'Cause I keep playing with. Also, what is it? Yeah, so we have the battles. Battle between army and rebellious Indians in South Mexico killed 57 people in 94. Also, a year later in 95 today, most distant galaxy yet discovered, found by scientists using Keck telescope. The Keck
The Keck,
telescope, estimated 15 billion light years away.
15 billion light years.
15 billion
It takes
light years.
15 billion years for
One,
light to travel. It takes 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to Earth. So,
Yeah.
but
Also, this one is sad. For 98, someone made a head. Yeah. I didn't actually believe it when I heard he had died, but then it got confirmed to me. But in 1998, today, on January 2nd, the autopsy of Chris Farley showed that he had overdosed on opiates and cocaine. This is why you don't do uppers and downers together, boys and girls.
yeah,
And
Chris
that
Farley,
man
what a
was,
legend.
dude, he was a legend. And, like, oh man, this thing broke. I broke it. That's a mother. Okay. Oh, I see what happened here.
Well, I
Uh-huh.
see something here that you might want to report on
Oh, which one after Farley?
in
Okay,
99.
90. Oh, 1990. Oh, yeah. Yeah. 1999, a brutal snowstorm smashed into the Midwestern United States. It caused like 14 inches, like with his. I love how they put the like millimeters in here for some reason. 359 millimeters of snow in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or Milwaukee, and 19 inches, which is 487 millimeters, in Chicago, where temperatures afterwards plunged to negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit, aka negative 25 degrees Celsius. It also sadly killed 68 people.
Yeah,
But yeah,
snowstorms are no joke. No
oh yeah,
joke.
but I love the snow. I can't help it.
But, you know, going back to my what I had said earlier about, like too recent, in 2001, Scylla Calderon became the first female governor of Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
So, you go, girl, And then later on, 3 years later in 2004, Stardust successfully flew past Comet Wild II, or Comet Wild 2, collecting samples that were returned to Earth.
Yep. I thought
So,
you'd like that one. I thought that was like, ooh, I know a certain someone who's gonna like to report on that. But what was it? Yeah. So yeah, that became the first governor of Puerto Rico. We got Stardust. 2014. This is going up 10 years later. So 30 people are killed after a bus plunges off a cliff and falls 400 feet in Malsaj Ghat, India.
Malshej Ghat, India.
Malsaj Ghat, India. Yeah.
But also that
Yeah.
same year, in 2014,
And
Raul
it,
Castro gave a speech commemorating the 55th anniversary of the Cuban Revolution and warns of neoliberal and neocolonial thinking entering the country. And look what's going on here.
right? Yeah. Let's see what's happening here.
Neoliberal
Also,
and neocolonial thinking.
yeah, right. Tell me about it, man.
You know,
Um, son of
but
a
then,
bitch.
a couple years later in 2016, Saudi Arabia executed 47 alleged terrorists, including Shia cleric Sheikh Nimir al-Nimir. Shia
Yeah,
cleric. Yeah,
that
the
was
Shia and the
20.
Sunnites. No, the Sunnites and the Sunnis.
Oh, dude, check this out though. Yeah, I don't know who the hell that is, but that's bad. 47 alleged terrorists. Alleged, so they weren't proven
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
So this is why you have to have evidence, and innocent till proven guilty.
This is why people really have
You
got
got
to be
without
careful
shadow
with
of doubt.
words. You know.
Exactly. And also, 2017. I didn't even know this happened, but this is crazy. Um, U.S. House Republicans vote to get the Independent Office of Congressional Ethics. A public uproar forces them to back down the next day.
Huh.
Oh wow, that's irony. See, this is why I don't like. Some people would consider me to be a Republican, but I'm not. I am a
Yeah.
constitutionalist. I go by the Constitution, nothing more, nothing less. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're good in the Democrat Party, if you're a good Democrat, then be a good Democrat. If you're good with Republican, be a good Republican.
Yeah.
If you want to be a good independent, like vice versa, just follow the Constitution. It's not that hard,
Yeah.
you know. Also, this one I
Anyway,
got. This one, yeah, I know, because I like
moving on up to 2018, the
the
World
bus
Health
crash.
Organization, aka WHO, revealed it will classify gaming addiction as a mental health condition in its next classification of diseases. So,
And you know what? It's called self-control, but I get why it can be. Cause, like, I've actually seen people with gambling problems where they've lost their house and everything.
oh yeah.
So
Well, I don't think they're talking straight up about, like, only about gambling. I think they're talking
yeah.
about, people like, Hawk and Zukov. So,
Oh yeah, particularly. Speaking of Hawk and Zukov, this has nothing to do with them at all. But I just wanted to say it. A bus crashed in Pacamayo, Peru. It killed 51 people on the notorious Devil's Curve Road.
I'm
Let's go
gonna
take a
pull up a
Hey,
picture of
want to
the
go to
Devil's
Peru?
Curve
Yeah, let's go drive on
Road.
Devil's Curve.
Devil's Curve Road.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's quotation. Oh, geez, is it right on a freaking mountain?
I'm trying, but my internet is not. There we go.
Oh,
Wow.
Jesus. Yep. Let's take a ride,
Wow.
guys. Oh, yeah, that's brutal.
Ugh.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Speaking of same day today in history in 2018, the storm called Eleanor forms near Ireland, then sweeps across the UK and Western Europe over the next few days.
Hmm.
I love my weather talk. Yeah.
Also in
Also,
2018, U.S. Senator Al Franken resigned.
oh yeah, that bastard. Hey, that was mine, but that's
Oh, I'm
okay.
sorry. I
No,
don't
it's
even know
okay.
who Al Franken is.
Oh, Al Franken. He used to be on Saturday Night Live. And then he became the U.S. Senator for Minnesota. I think he resigned because he was caught being a perv or something like that.
Hmm.
So, but in 2020, like in 2019, though, this is just only a couple of years ago. The Apple CEO Tim Cook blames below expectation on the Chinese iPhone sales for downturn in company's outlook, rocking international stock markets apparently.
Huh.
And this last piece in 2021, I think this is just malarkey. But apparently he did say this. But 2021 today, U.S. President Donald Trump said to Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, "I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is more than we have,"
One more.
in recording released by the Washington Post.
Yeah, more of this this election malarkey.
Fraud stuff.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
see, I've never actually heard this recording, so I don't know if it's actually true, but it's coming from the Washington Post, and I don't trust the Washington Post
Yeah.
as a reliable news source, to be honest.
That's another thing, like, I'll talk about it later about it, but I want to finish the show up. I am getting really hungry.
Let's talk about
But,
Jabberwocky later.
yeah.
So
Anyway,
let's
we're
get down
moving
to
on up to births. We have Nathaniel Bacon, 1647. He was an English U.S. rebel leader. Bob Marshall,
Boop,
1901, U.S. activist, co-founded the Wilderness Society. Kane
boop.
Tanaka, 1903, Japanese supercentenarian, oldest verified living person. Um,
Pers-
yeah,
Personally,
still alive.
damn,
1903, I believe.
1903. So he's, oh man, Jesus Christ. So
Uh,
he's like 100 and like like almost 120 years old.
You know what? Let me look this up.
119 years old.
Kane Takata. He's still alive. 119.
He's 119. Jesus fuck, man.
It's a female.
Jesus
Wow,
Christ.
look at that. See her?
Jeez.
And then there's her now. Wow.
Oh, she's still good.
Look at those
her.
ears, dude.
Well, yeah, your ears keep growing as you get older. Except for
Wow.
mine, because I have freakishly small ears. Thank God my headset's on, so you can't see how small they are. Anyways,
Anna Lee in 1913, she was an English U.S. actress. John Hollowbred, 1934, an English footballer and goalkeeper. Norodom Ranarid, 1944, Cambodian field marshal and politician, the first prime minister of Cambodia. And then we also have Cuba Gooding Jr., 1963, a U.S. actor and producer.
Happy birthday, you guys.
And then we have, you want to take deaths?
Oh, I love taking the deaths. You know me.
Okay. You are Lady Death, after all.
Yeah, I am Lady. Yeah, one of my pseudonames is Lady Death. Not like the Marvel characters.
One of your dozens and dozens of pseudonames.
Yeah, I've got Staples, I've got Danny Cake.
They have like a three football field long archive, like in the police report about you of all your AKAs, like
of all my aliases.
Yeah.
So we have for deaths today, in 1169, the 6th Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Bertrand de Blanchefleur. We'll just call him Jacques. He died today. Heinrich Rube von Plauen, 1470. He was the Grand Master of the Teutonic Order.
I think he was the Grand Master, like the start.
The Grand Master. Oh, okay.
Like, not a Grand Master. I think he was the start, because that's 1470, Teutonic Knights,
Yeah, Teutonic Knights. And then we have Lucio Gucci, the Italian businessman and fashion design founder of Gucci. He passed away in 53 today. Pick Powell. He was an actor and singer and director. He died today in 1964. And
I think
our
his
last
name actually, I miswrote it. It was Dick Powell. Sorry.
Dick Powell? Oh,
Dick Powell.
Oh, gotta keep up with the dicks. And then not Elmo. I don't even know who this person is. Oh, he's in 2000, the U.S. Admiral Elmo Zumwalt. He passed away today.
Yeah. Some of these people, like, I have no idea, like, what was his name? John Hollowbred, Nathaniel Bacon, like, those are interesting names, Dick Powell, Elmo, but anyway, that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links, and sources that you may be interested in. For your dose of past events daily, I am A.O. Xander.
And I am Who Is Alice.
And you are you. Until tomorrow, you'll see us then. Toodles!
Toodles!